Welcome back to The Art of Belonging. My name is Ginger.
And I'm Larry. Thank you for joining us here at CAN TV, Channel 21.
Our first episode, we began with the question, what does it mean to belong?
Today, we continue that conversation through Filipino American history, neighborhood memory, caregiving, archival footage, and art.
In this episode, we remember the legacy of Estrella Ravelo Alamar. We'll share Ashley's video about Estrella's family and archival history, and we'll be presenting a dramatic reading of Crazy on the Inside and close with a video of Hatid Sundo by Lani T, Montreal.
For those just joining us, Ginger and I are founding members of CIRCA Pintig, a Filipino American community theater organization based here in Chicago.
CIRCA Pintig is celebrating its 35th anniversary season, and for 35 years, we've used theater, storytelling, and community arts to uplift stories of migration, family, labor, justice, memory, and healing.
This episode asks how Filipino Americans in Chicago create belonging through family, culture, education, care work, and historical preservation. Because
this is the art of belonging, we also ask, where does belonging happen?
Belonging is not just an idea. It happens in real places, in homes, schools, hospitals, parks, museums, theaters, and streets.
And for Filipino Americans in Chicago, those places include the West Side, where Estrella was born in 1936.
They include Hyde Park, where Estrella was dreamed of preserving Filipino American history through a museum and a community archive.
They also include public spaces where history is remembered and passed on.
Then they include places like the International Museum of Surgical Sciences, where Unheard Voices of Care honored Filipino nurses and caregivers.
When we remember Estrella and the stories of Filipino care workers, we're also honoring the neighborhoods that hold those memories.
To belong to a city is to have your story remembered in it. One person who understood the importance of preserving Filipino American history was Estrella Ravelo Alamar.
Estrella was a second-generation American-born Filipina. She was an educator, a historian, and a community leader from Chicago.
She was born on the West Side in 1936, an American-born Filipino at a time when Filipino immigration to the United States was still heavily restricted.
Her father, Florentino Ravelo, came to Chicago in 1922. He studied law at DePaul University, but discrimination limited opportunities, so he became a postal worker.
Her mother, Ambrosia Galutera, had been a teacher in the Philippines, but because she was not a U.S. citizen, she could not teach in Chicago. So she worked as a dressmaker.
Their story reminds us that Filipino immigrants helped build this city, even when the city did not always fully welcome them.
They worked, they studied, they raised families and contributed to Chicago while also facing racism and exclusion.
Estrella later became a Chicago public school teacher for 30 years.
She also became a keeper of Filipino American history. She founded the Filipino American Historical Society of Chicago and co-founded a Filipino American museum with her husband, Justo Alamar, and co-authored Filipinos in Chicago in 2010.
Her work reminds us that communities belong when their stories are remembered.
To help us see this history more deeply, Ashley Dequilla prepared a video segment featuring Estrella's family and archival footage.
Let's take a look.
A first Filipino group that became citizens after the war. See, we were not allowed then. Yeah, back then. We owe allegiance to the United States, but we could not be citizens until after the war.
Do you remember what the reason was? What you can
Because they had already, with the establishment of the Commonwealth, I do not know if it was the McDuffie Tidings Bill. Do you know about those bills? I don't know if they were the ones if those were the bills that guaranteed independence to the Philippines in 1946. And by sheer luck, we got married January 5, 1935. That was Saturday. We went to Manila the next day. I missed school for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Was that your honeymoon?
Because, yes, we were accompanied by Governor Cabarrugis, our ninong, sponsor for one of our ninongs, sponsor of our wedding, to the Malacañang Palace, where the secretary there amended my husband's passport to include his wife, and that was me. So it was all set. He was coming back and we came back together. The boat we rode was SS Steamship President Hoover, leaving Manila Bay January 23, 1935.
How long did it take to get home?
It went, this one, we stopped in Hong Kong, Kobe, Yokohama, Hawaii, and then San Francisco. But when we arrived in San Francisco, they took us to Angel Island. The Commonwealth was just established then. And the president here was Roosevelt. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was just elected, I think. And our Governor General in the Philippines, who was appointed, I think, by President Roosevelt, they were appointed then, was Governor General Henry Stimson, yeah, and it was that.
You said you
I arrived, we were detained in Angel Island. They became strict already. We were, they considered, I don't know, immigration office, that we were in Angel Island. That was an immigration office. We were separated from our husbands. There were 2 of us married, 2 Filipinos, Filipina girls married to people who were here, and they separated us from our husband. We could not talk to our husbands at all for 1 week. Yeah. We had to go before the court. And in the court, it was funny. They showed us the picture of our husband. They said, Funo, do you know who this is? You know. And I said, of course, that's my husband. They showed a picture of me, you know. Do you know who this? That's me. It was funny.
Thank you, Ashley, for that moving look at Estrella's family history and archival memory.
What stands out is how personal memory becomes community history. A mother's story, a family's journey, and old photographs can help a whole community understand where it came from.
Estrella believed that our stories deserve a place, and her dream for a Filipino American museum in Hyde Park came from that belief.
And that question still matters. Whose stories are preserved? Whose histories are visible? Who gets remembered as part of Chicago?
Estrella's legacy reminds us that Filipino American history is not separate from Chicago history. It is Chicago history.
This brings us to another project of history and belonging, Unheard Voices of Care.
The project was created with the Filipino American National Historical Society of Greater Chicago chapter, community leaders, artist, and lead curator Angel Abecede, author of The House of Nurses.
It honors Filipino nurses and caregivers, people whose labor, sacrifice, love, and care have shaped Filipino families and communities across the generations.
As part of the project, an exhibit was held at the International Museum of Surgical Science, where visitors could see photographs, writings, stories, and memories that were connected to Filipino nurses and caregivers.
Filipino nurses and caregivers have shaped Chicago through their work in hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, private homes.
Their care is also part of Chicago's neighborhood history.
One series within Unheard Voices of Care was called Love Letters.
And this was also part of a Storyoki event. That series inspired Larry and me to create a dramatic piece called Crazy on the Inside.
We now invite you to listen to our dramatic reading.
Crazy on the Inside, a two-voice Storyoki script before singing Crazy. Our theme today is love letters. And sometimes a love letter is not just paper and ink. Sometimes it's a plane ticket, a night shift, a suitcase, a promise kept across an ocean.
This is the story of my parents, Karina and Lorenzo. They were both nurses from the Philippines. Their love story began in a place devoted to healing. Not the kind of healing that you can always see. The kind that asks people to care for wounded minds as well as wounded bodies.
Which honestly is already the beginning of a remarkable story.
They worked long shifts together. They listened, comforted, stayed awake while others slept. And somewhere between caring for strangers, they began caring for one another.
I'm not a nurse, but I did play one on stage. Actually, I played many roles, but America is in the Heart opened with me as a nurse caring for Larry, who was lying in a hospital bed portraying Carlos Bolosan.
Carlos Bolosan was one of the most important Filipino American writers. He came to America in the 1930s and wrote about racism, labor, immigration, and survival. His book, America's in the Heart, became a landmark of Filipino American literature, a story of hardship, but also of hope.
We performed that production with Pintig Cultural Group, now known as CIRCA Pintig. And Pintig means heartbeat or pulse. And that was always our mission, to keep the heartbeat of our community alive through theater.
And that is where Ginger and I met. She was playing a nurse, and I was playing a man lying in a hospital bed with tuberculosis.
Very dramatic.
Very ill.
And eventually, very romantic. While we were telling a Filipino American love story, we quietly began writing one of our own.
Funny how stories begin in hospitals.
And apparently, in this family, love needs a hospital bed and impeccable timing.
My mother, Karina, was from the Visayas, from Samar to be exact. She was bold, beautiful, and determined. She became a nurse, earned her bachelor's degree at Silliman University, and was eventually a beauty queen. My father was from Oroquieta City and studied nursing in Zamboanga. He was quieter and steady, the kind of man whose love showed itself through actions.
They married in the Philippines. Then in 1964, Karina left for the United States. She first landed in Philadelphia, but it didn't feel like home. So she came to Chicago, where other Filipino nurses were building new lives.
But Lorenzo was still in the Philippines, and this is where the love letters begin.
No texting, no FaceTime, no little dots saying someone is typing, just paper. Ink, mail, waiting.
My mother was in Chicago, pregnant, working, learning a new country. My father remained back home, waiting for the opportunity to follow.
Maybe those letters talked about ordinary things, how cold Chicago was, how work was going, how much they missed each other. But when an ocean separates two people, ordinary things become sacred. A letter can say, I'm still here. I still choose you. We're going to make it.
That waiting is where I Fall to Pieces belongs. Love can be strong and still ache. But they did not fall apart. In 1965, my father came to America because my mother was here, because their child was here, because their future was here.
That is real romance. Not flowers, not chocolates. The kind where someone says, I'm coming, and they actually come.
Together in Chicago, they built a life, work, rent, babies, winter, hospital shifts, community. And then they found something unexpected. Many of the nurses around them had come from the very same hospital back home.
They even had a nickname for themselves.
Mendicek, or sometimes Mendichik, a mashup of Mandaluyong Mental Hospital and Chicago. Only nurses could come up with something like that.
Very nurse humor.
Very. And just like Pintig, they kept a heartbeat alive. They cared for patients, raised families, built community, and quietly created home.
By now, you may be wondering where all of this began.
The hospital where my parents met was Mandaluyong Mental Hospital, today known as the National Center for Mental Health. Their friends loved asking one question.
Did they meet on the inside or the outside?
Because inside usually meant you were a patient.
They were not patients. They were nurses. Although, after enough overnight shifts, I'm sure the line got a little blurry.
So here we are. My parents met while caring for people in a mental hospital.
Larry and I met while pretending to care for one another in a play.
2 generations, 2 hospitals, 2 love stories.
One heartbeat.
Maybe love has always asked people to do things that don't make much sense. Cross an ocean, trust a letter, leave everyone you've ever known, wait, hope, begin again.
Maybe the greatest love stories always sound a little impossible until someone actually lives them.
So this song is for Karina and Lorenzo.
For every nurse walking hospital halls after midnight.
For every immigrant who packed an entire future into one little suitcase.
For Carlos Bolosan. For Pintig. And for every story that keeps our community's heartbeat alive.
And for a love that keeps showing up,
keeps its promise,
crosses the ocean,
walks onto a stage,
builds a life,
this is for Karina and Lorenzo.
and maybe just a little for us. Because sometimes
the
things that change our lives, the things that ask the most of us,
the things we do for love
are simply
crazy. Please join us in singing Crazy. As mentioned, that was part of a lecture series that was presented with Unheard Voices of Care, an exhibit that ran from May 15th through August 2nd. And part of the series incorporated a storyoke, where there's a personal storytelling, and then the whole audience and presenters break out in song. And so, if ever you have a chance to check us out, we will be singing Crazy live together with you. Now, before we close, we want to share a few community announcements. First off, join us at Nothing Without a Company series of The Trouble with My Hair, Coloring, Cutting, and Coming Into Who I Am by Ada Chang on Friday, August 21st. That will be at 7:30 p.m. at Scissor and Fork, and Larry and I will be presenting Crazy on the Inside once again at that presentation.
And please save the date for Musika SamaSama Filipino Festival, taking place on August 29 at Eugene Field Park.
This is the third year of the festival, organized by SamaSama Project. It will feature original Filipino music, or OPM, food, local vendors, community organizations, and opportunities to gather.
Also look out for CIRCA Pintig's third annual Chicago Filipino American Play Festival, running from September 10 through September 27.
And we are grateful that the Art of Belonging has received support through an individual artist program grant from the Chicago's Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, also known as DCASE.
This project will also be shared in Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and Madison, Wisconsin by the end of October.
For updates, visit circapintig.org and follow us on Instagram at CIRCA Pintig Theater.
As we close today, we return to the heart of this episode, belonging through care.
In Filipino, Hatid Sundo means to bring someone and pick them up, to accompany them, to make sure that they arrive safely, and to make sure they are not left alone.
That meaning connects deeply to the stories we shared today. Estrella Ravelo Alamar's legacy, Filipino nurses and caregivers, and the art that helps us remember.
Hatid Sundo by Lani T, Montreal, an educator, writer, performer, and community activist.
The music and composition are by Lani T, Montreal, with a musical arrangement by Demetrio P. Cardona Magigan.
The piece includes images shared by friends and family of CIRCA Pintig, with UIC Nurses Strike images from NAFCON and Migrante USA Chicago.
Video editing is by Concerned Artists of the Philippines and Alan Sargon.
Since CIRCA Pintig first premiered Hatid Sundo in October 2020 during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, it has remained a powerful expression of care, memory, and community.
Thank you for joining us at The Art of Belonging.
May we continue creating spaces where all of us can belong.
We now leave you with Hatid Sundo.
Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Lani Montreal ng CIRCA Pintig Cultural Group. One of my first jobs here in Chicago was legal assistant for an immigration lawyer. And I remember we used to file H-1 visas for nurses and caregivers like there was no tomorrow. Today, they remain the top labor exports of the Philippines to the United States. We ask our family and friends to gather photographs of loved ones who came here as nurses and caregivers, and we want to share them with you along with this song that I wrote called Hatid Sundo, dedicated to all the Filipino frontline workers out there who are risking their lives to make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. Maraming salamat po.
Sa sulok ng mundo, luhat at ngiti, nagpapalit-palit. Kung minsa'y tunay, kung minsa'y pilit. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Tren, barko, bus, eroplano, mga ugat, nagkakalat-kalat, pistulang mapang kabulat-lat. Ang buhay ng migrante, sabi nila'y maswerte, ngunit bakit kakambal ay lungkot? Pit-pit-pit-pit kaluluwa sa loob ng sang maleta. Wag na wag, please, wag makakalima. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Yang susulong na rin ang hito, nagpapati may iwan, ngunit pagkahit hindi kumagaan. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Sa kung sansang sulok ng mundo, yakap halik, nagpapalit-palit. Kung minsa'y tunay, kung minsa'y pilit. Ang buhay ng migrante, akala ko'y maswerte, ngunit bakit kakambal ay lungkot? Pit-pit-pit-pit kaluluwa sa loob ng sang maleta. Wag na wag, please, wag makakalima. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Sa kung sansang sulok ng mundo, luhat at ngiti, nagpapalit-palit. Kung minsa'y tunay, kung minsa'y pilit. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Sa kung sansang sulok ng mundo, luhat at ngiti, nagpapalit-palit. Kung minsa'y tunay, kung minsa'y pilit. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo. Hatid sundo, hatid sundo.